Oh, that's okay. So we will call the meeting to order. Thanks to both of you for being on time, as is Pastor Gordon. That's very important to us, so we economize everybody's daytime hours. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
Make a motion that the agenda is approved.
Ms. Boatright, would you second?
Second, yep.
Okay, properly motion and accept. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. With that, join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Ms. Cushingberry, has the media been notified?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, is there a motion for approval of the committee meeting minutes of March 12th and or 11th?
I'll make a motion
To approve the committee meeting minutes.
to approve the committee meeting, legislative committee meeting
Or
March 12th, 2025 and April 11th, 2025.
Ms. Boatright, will you second that, ma'am?
I'm gonna let you second it because I wasn't at there, so I'm abstaining from the minutes.
Not a problem. I second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? nay?
Abstain.
Okay, so 2-0. Thank you. And one abstention. Okay, on the legislative committee position statement, we sent out a list of priorities. I think it was in early March. Colonel Guy has weighed in on those. And we are fortunate to have our consigliere here today with us, Attorney Cartledge. And so she's getting connected. You okay? Okay.
I was trying to get that plug in.
So what we sent out were a couple of things that we proffered as priorities. And then, of course, with that, we also solicited feedback from not only the committee members, but the entire board. Ms. Cushingberry, what what type of response have we had?
I have not received anything, only from Colonel Geyer. And David Carr agreed with Colonel Geyer's what he said.
Okay, so Colonel Guy agreed with what?
You said.
Okay, okay, so we got three. Ms. Boatright and Ms. Frazier, have you had a chance to read that document, and do you have any comments or additions, deletions, et cetera?
So, Mr. Dallas, if I may, I've looked through that document. I'm pretty set on what I think, and I said at the last meeting I attended, the issues that are really going to impact our schools are going to be the new one being the weighted funding formula. I think that's got a pretty high place now on the legislative agenda. And then the issues around athletics and school choice, there's a lot going on. And there was a lot that came out and that didn't get done out of the legislative a session that just wrapped up. So to me, I'm not sure exactly where school choice is. I know that they've passed it, but they still aren't sure if I think that it's been passed, but they're not sure if it's going to get past the court challenges, is my understanding. And just kind of from my point of view, understanding that so that we can advocate would be my priority. And I feel like that's a lot. So I didn't go through and pick out my top 10. I'm really focused on those issues.
Okay, so we can add those three to the ones that have already been offered. Ms. Frazier?
I have not seen that document. But one of my concerns would be still with the vouchers and how it's going to affect us.
Okay, so the document was sent out to the entire board. So we'll resend that and take a look at it. What we're looking at, as an FYI is to capture input and then do a culling exercise as we did, the board did for the strategies,
Gotcha.
at the next work session. So if you will, if you haven't, seen it, take a look and we'll ask Ms. Cushingberry to send it out again. And, just add whatever you see, or give commentary as, Ms. Boatright.
Will do.
All right, Mr. Pastor Gordon.
Yeah, I did look over it briefly, but I need to look over it again. But one of the ones that caught my mind was the bill SB 202, Teachers' Right, Bill of Rights, designed to protect teachers in the class when it comes to children, the students, how they act and, stuff like that. And I believe that teachers, the empowerment, the power that they used to have, especially when it came to disciplining our kids in the schools, have definitely diminished. And I know one of the meetings we had, one of the executive board meetings we had with summer transportation, they actually put a program with students on the bus, disciplining them. But I think it needs to go further than on the bus. It needs to be in the class, and teachers need to be given back that power and the protection of things. Because I've seen a lot of stories and stuff on Facebook where students fight the teachers, for whatever reason. And I think that bill needs to really be looked at close to protect the rights of our teachers.
And you say that's SB 62?
SB 202.
202, okay, we'll add that one. Any other, sir?
The other one I looked at was the bill for board members and insurance.
Mhm.
I agree with us having insurance, also having the right to say, well, we'd like to have a medical insurance through the district. That's one of my top ones right there.
Okay, so we can add the insurance.
Yeah, can't remember what bill number that is, but
Insurance for board members.
yeah.
Health insurance you talking about?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, health insurance.
Any other?
No, that's the two right offhand.
Just as an FYI, looking through all the bills and the, pre-file bills and the ones that have gone forward, in addition to, just using those as a priority, we've personally created two proposed bills that we will proffer, if there's support, to the General Assembly. Will identify any particular elected legislator who's willing to submit that bill so that it can get into the discussion in January 2026. Two of those bills that have been completed and funneled over to our legal colleagues for their review and making sure that it comports with all the requirements of a submission for General Assembly consideration. The first one is fairness in testing. And I had a conversation this morning with three key community leaders, and one's an engineer, one is a PhD in education, and the other is a veteran teacher. And so they're retired, they move here from different places. And they also, when I mention the bill, I don't give specifics because I've not gotten the feedback yet from the legal review, and that's very important. But that bill, fairness in testing, would require all three educational options in the state of South Carolina would be required to take the same test. They also would be required to show the delineation between the subgroups of students who take those tests so that anybody looking at those test results could make a fair comparison of public, charter, and private schools without any type of editorial comment. It's just data. And we believe that that would help all school parents who are looking at options to have a more analytical decision. And I think that would be fair to all. So the second one, and that's for the General Assembly in South Carolina. The second one that's been proper for legal review is one called Truth in Media. And that one comes from the global arena. We've been looking at items that are posted on social media, and it's gotten to the point where they're just wrong. It is they intentionally deceive the unaware reader. And that person goes off and forms an opinion about society, about, parties, political parties, pro and con, and it's not based on reality. And that hurts our great country. And so let me back up. In Europe, the same posting will be contested legally. And if you look at Google, Meta, and other big tech media companies, they've lost billion-dollar suits for saying something that in the US, currently we cannot even contest legally because of Communications Act 1996, Section 230, indemnifies social media against legal redress of what they post. And when I look at how kids are picking up themes that are just totally erroneous, I think it hurts our society. So I'm not being pejorative against people posting, just that it should be held to some accountable level of truth. So those are the two. The third one that I've not completed yet is on discipline, as Pastor Gordon is speaking. When I look back at discipline in the schools and the academic performance, I think one of the impediments is that our teachers spend an inordinate amount of time trying to restore order in classrooms. We've seen pictures of where classrooms have been destroyed by students. And so will be in that bill, once it's proposed bill, once it's completed, is that the school district should be allowed to identify educational facilities that target those types of students with all the love, the care, the nurturing that's necessary, but not where they can impair or impede the much larger classroom. So those are three. And Ms. Cartledge, would you just want to give any feedback? That I know you haven't had time because you've been out of town for the last week.
So I was, the one is a federal
Yes,
law. So we would have to have somebody who would sponsor.
we think we got somebody.
We do, okay, so we need to talk with them and send them our draft and ask if they would introduce the legislation for us. And then for our other bill about the fairness in testing, do we have some legislation who
We
introduce?
think we have somebody.
It really is fair if you think about it. Even if you're in a private school, everyone should be tested same way and see what progress they're making.
Correct.
I mean, that's fair, the best interest of students, because we need to see how they're achieving.
And that's our intention. Again, we're not
Right.
positioning strong on one side or another. Just saying a level playing.
Mr. Dallas,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions. One,
Sure. Okay.
I don't recall the school board drafting its own legislation before, so this is kind of uncharted territory. But can you clarify who we is? Because I don't think the board has discussed this, voted on it, or taken any official positions on these. So when you say we are drafting a bill and it's our legislation, who is a part of that?
Yeah, well, I grew up to try to avoid the use of the word I. So since you asked, I've drafted that bill using artificial intelligence, which God, everybody knows I'm not a techie, and put that together and run it through, people who have some expertise in that, and that includes our legal staff.
We've never introduced legislation since I've been on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, not on the board, of district. and worked with the board.
And-
Ms.
Yeah.
Cartlidge,
We have, Ms. Boatright, let me respond to her, Attorney Cartlidge. If you recall, we've said that we want this legislative committee to be proactive. There's a gap, hasn't been done for whatever reason, understand, respect that. But when we look at how our schools are being affected, I think it's incumbent upon us to present things, alternatives and solutions. And that's what we try to do.
And then the school board association, that would be like a resolution that they would be supporting this type of legislation in the general assembly.
But first is to discuss it at this committee,
And then with the board, huh?
then with the board, so that as Ms. Boatright is alluding to, we follow proper protocol.
Sure, sure.
And then at that point, school board association is asking a resolution to be submitted by June 11th,
Oh, okay.
if I'm not mistaken. But in June,
Check, okay.
yeah, so that we can get the school board association to list it as one of their resolutions to be considered at our June meeting. And then
And Ms.
that
Car-
becomes something. Yeah, let me finish just a minute, Ms. Boatright. I'll be right with you. So that the school board association then can also take it if this passes, and the caveat say, if it passes here, if it passes at our board, and if it passes at the school board. Ms. Boatright, go ahead, please.
so how we've done this in the past, in the sense of, I was going to ask Ms. Cartledge what her previous experience was with this, or what might be the best way, is that we have voted on a legislative agenda that then is submitted to the school board association, and they decide whether or not they're going to make it part of their agenda. So I know that they weren't bills per se, but that we had items that we wanted the legislation to take up. So I'm not sure what the proper flow and protocol is. And I know that with particularly the Section 530, I think there's very mixed support on that one right out of the gate, because we had the opportunity to join a lawsuit with this. And it is actually, I think, as we've discussed, at the Supreme Court. So my question is, in my opinion, just me, and using the I word, I feel like the things that have come out of this legislative session that are about to really have an impact on the day-to-day operations is where I personally would like to have some, not to just to set aside what you're doing. I think that's valuable as well, but I feel like we need to, in my opinion, we need to not crowd out the issues of the vouchers that are very, very prescient, the issues people don't educate other board members about what's coming and have those discussions, figure out what the status is, have the discussions with the legislatures about where they are, because the things that are really going to hit us, private schools, this weighted funding formula, we've got the county, and this is going to be a big one for Beaufort County, I think, that you can go to any school. You don't have to even live in that county. And, there are things like that that are going to impact enrollment. And I feel like, to me, that's what's on fire at the moment. And so I would hope that we would have space for all those things through the legislative committee, that we can, if you want to pursue some of this and have some discussions about legislation you're drafting, I'm fine with that. And that can be a valuable exercise, but I don't want to discount. And I don't know what the proper protocol is if we talk to the board and, these different things, but man, this session in particular was very, very education bill heavy. And we really need to absorb that and educate ourselves, educate the public, and build that relationship with our legislatures too. So I guess my feedback here is, I think this is a fine direction to go in. I'm probably not going to be in support of the 230. There's a lot of complexity. I haven't seen the bill, so there's a lot of complexity there. But I also want to make sure we don't take our eyes off these other balls that we need to field here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Can I try to give a humble response to that, Ms. Boatright?
Please.
So we sent out a request for priorities back in March. This is May, 2 months ago. And the only two people who've responded have been myself and the chair. And so, power hates a vacuum, progress hates a vacuum. So we try to get things that we sort of believe will supplement those items you just mentioned. Totally agree. They are hot. And what we're doing this, using this meeting for today is to give everybody a chance, now that you see it's moving forward, to now review all of those things and come back in. And we've already spoken with the superintendent about having the mentee culling session that we did for strategy, which seemed to work very well. And so that anything anybody promotes from this point forward will be included in that digestion of what's been recommended, and then we sort of decide. Is that okay?
Yeah, and I just would point out too that we had a discussion in March, I think, and where I brought these up as my priority. So I didn't respond to that additional document. So I don't know if some people feel like maybe didn't realize the importance of actually responding to the additional document. So just as a thought out there, because we did have this discussion, I think it was in March, maybe February, where we started looking at this and this very topic came up. So I agree,
So-
power hates a vacuum, but I do think that a lot of people have talked about this.
So we've talked about it, and we sent out a specific memo, not just to the committee, but to the entire board. And so what we're trying to do here is to elevate it so everybody understands, please get your suggestions in so we can codify them and archive. So there's still time, and that's why we have sort of moved the mentee session further into the future. So all those things you mentioned, please note them so we can compile them in one sheet as we did for strategy and move forward. But good point.
Sound good? Sounds good.
So, Ms. Boatright, in February, you all listed, some bills that were House and Senate. So.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you would say are your priorities, and I can take those and put your name on them.
Sure. Yeah.
Those ones that we discussed in February.
And then I would have added the weighted funding formula because we just found out about that. So.
And
So if you would write that down, I can add to it.
Yeah, is that a bill? Sorry.
I don't know.
the way. Yeah, I think that is. That's a proviso. I think it is. It's a proviso.
I know the proviso was an amendment to the weighted funding formula. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
So we'll capture that. And again, the message is, if you have something you want to be considered, submit it so we can codify it and compile it, and everybody's ideas are captured.
We have Miss Gordon on the phone. She's listening in on the phone.
Hello, Ms. Gordon.
Hello.
Okay, any other questions or comments about where we are now?
No, but can I mention two other bills that I'm looking at my
Okay.
notes? Senate Bill 125, and that was about construction of the 100% tax exempt for developers developing houses, and they've been getting away with it, according to places like Rock Hill or Charlotte, that they've been getting away with building 89 units and only two the units dedicated to low income housing. And according to the bill, or according to what it's supposed to be, is that they're supposed to have dedicated, they get 100% tax exempt. And
It's not
even if they
100%.
just put one apartment, low income, and they're getting 100% tax exempt. So the new bill is trying to change that, so where they at least get it close. If they get 25% toward low income, then they'll be, they'll get tax exempt on that. But they've been getting away with that stuff. And I don't know whether that's been happening in Beaufort. Rather, we sure are a lot of buildings going up, and we don't know how much of them are dedicated toward low income. So I think that bill, that's one of the bills that we really need to pass, because tax goes to the school district. Am I right? Yeah, that particular tax goes toward the school district. So I'm just saying that bill needs to be upfront, definitely. And if I could say one more.
So, Cushionberry, you get the bill number?
125.
Yes.
SB Senate Bill 125, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And the other one?
Yeah, one
Is SP?
SB,
SB.
Senate Bill. Yeah.
yeah. One of the other bills, I think it's 3100.
Or do you do 8 House or Senate?
Well, the first one, the first bill I mentioned is Bill,
Was SB,
yeah,
Senate Bill,
SB 25, 125.
Senate Bill 125.
Yeah, that has passed in the Senate and it's now at the House,
Okay,
according to when we was updated last time.
okay.
The other one was the Bill 3100, running the stop school
Oh,
bus,
okay.
stop school bus sign. And, they have put some real strict,
Good.
situations behind that. Even if a person is stopped for running a school bus, they will get fined from the Department of Education, not from, the law enforcement. So it's got real heavy. I mean, it's probably spending some time in prison. So that's one of the bills that should have been done a long time ago. They should have revised that one a long
And
time.
where's that one now? Oh, it's been filed, but no action on it yet.
Right, right.
And what's that number?
And it passed the Senate, okay, it causes the
3,100.
passed the Senate, but not the House.
It has passed the Senate, but not the House,
Okay.
right?
Has.
That's all.
No, go ahead.
Can I interject something? If you see me smiling online and you see me smiling in here, it's because of this dialogue. I mean, Pastor Gordon, kudos to you, kudos to Ms. Boatwright for having specific things that you've read, researched, and what have you. And you're saying, this is what I want to have a discussion about. So kudos to you. I'm very, very happy and very proud of that. So thank you all. Mr. Smith?
Oh, no, no, just, I think I got given Mrs. Cushionberry. When we first spoke, when we were going across that list, I believe that we had given some that day, I thought.
In February, there was some numbers, yes.
Okay, right. And I apologize. It was when I was coming to give an update. I was supposed to give an update on one, but I say for the next one because they mentioned it in the press that I saw. And I was going to ask, did anybody see it?
Okay, so let me just pose this question. Maybe this will help clear it up. You're proposing that this bill be added as a priority, right?
Well, yeah, but also I think they had given. I was going to ask, did anybody see? Because I missed it apparently at the one was told me that they had an update on one of them that we had spoke about at that meeting in February. So apparently the House spoke about one of those bills that we were talking about as a group collective.
Okay.
Last time we were together, that I had mentioned.
Okay, so let's put that down as something for us to research
Okay. Yes.
and find out and report back. But right now, we're really trying to collect the whole universe of it. Anything
Okay.
anybody wants to cover.
Okay.
So what bill number did you say this?
Shit,
Didn't, 'cause
Okay, all right.
But I get it. I get it.
Get it and give it to Ms.
Yeah.
Cushionberry,
All right.
all right, so that we archive what we want.
Okay.
That way it doesn't get lost.
Okay.
Any others? Ms. Frazier? Okay, so, when is our next meeting? June 11th is what I have down on the agenda.
yes.
Okay, so is 2 weeks enough for everybody to review all the materials and get any additional priority?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Frazier, Ms. Boatwright, is 2 weeks enough, for everybody to sort of coalesce around what they want to submit?
Yeah, that's fine for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Frazier? Okay, Ms. Smith?
Well,
Yes, sir.
Do you have any, is 2 weeks from now sufficient time for you to sort of review bills or topics or priorities?
Yes, please. I'll wait to see the document. Nice.
I'll resend it out today.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Smith?
yeah, 2 weeks is definitely be sufficient to go over because at this point, this that we're fine tuning it.
Yeah.
We already have some things. Ms. Cushionberry, if you that last February meeting, if you I know you took notes on which ones that we brought up. If you would just kind of just send out a list tally of those points that everyone brought up, so that we can so I can revisit some of the stuff like Ms. Boatwright brought that she put some stuff out there as well as I did, so I can just revisit the kind of. See
I'll send a list out of what I have.
I was trying
Yeah.
to,
I'll just send out what I have
I appreciate
and
that.
then send out the whole list again, so.
Pastor Gordon, any more from you, sir?
No,
You're looking.
yeah, I am, and I'm.
You got 2 weeks if it's okay.
Yeah, no,
Everybody-
actually, I was just going back to what, Ms. Boatwright was saying, some things she was saying about the vouchers bill, that, and she's right, that's real. hard time. And the demographics that we have in our district, you know, we really need to have a conversation about how that's gonna affect even both sides, North and North, South and North. That's definitely a conversation I definitely like to be.
Also, I know that the governor, I'm not sure what it's spelled out too, where the governor said that the state was no longer I think the House and the Senate or something that said they were no longer paying for CSOs. They're no longer paying for SROs for middle schools. I mean, for elementary schools, they're no longer paying for. And I think that may be a bill too that we want to check on for this committee.
Okay, so the SRO bill,
Yes, sir. Yes.
okay,
Yeah, so you might want to check on that too as well.
any other?
That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I was thinking.
you still got 2 weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any others? Everybody good? Okay, so that takes the ranking of top 10 prioritized items and the legislative committee. So any future topics? Ms. Boatright, Ms. Frazier, Pastor Gordon?
None for me. Think we got a
Mr.
lot
Smith?
going on. As is.
Yep, you, ma'am.
Definitely. I'm good as well.
okay.
I'm good.
Consigliere?
Good.
You
I'll
okay?
get with you after this.
Sounds good, ma'am. All right, next meeting is June the 11th. Same time, same place. And just want to say thank you for all your efforts. And again, we are trying to be a very proactive legislative committee and ensure that, to the extent possible, we avoid surprises that come out of various legislative entities, federal, state, what have you. So thank you for all your efforts, and we're giving you back about an hour of your time. So, yes.
And also, just to give an announcement, also I was at the planning council meeting on Monday. And Monday night, and Tom Davis was actually there speaking about something. So that was interesting to see that the legislator actually came, Senator Davis
Right.
came there and was speaking about things. So I know we have a couple of issues that we may need to bring out, and I think that now that they're not in session. We may need to see if we can get those things, or also see if we can possibly have get a breakfast or a coffee with our legislators, and maybe board members or something like that, coffee or something. That's just, I just want to put that out there, so that, something we can be thinking about, see how any of us would want to move forward with that.
So let me tag on to that. We had a conversation with a board member from the upstate, and they hold a legislative coffee, which is between the elected officials and the board. And and they talked about their turnout. I'm like, well, we have a meeting where we bring in invite the legislators, right? But it's during the day, maybe they're working or what have you, but they hold theirs at 7 a.m. And they say they get a very good turnout. They get an excellent turnout, and it's before people go to work. And this is in Greenville, which has horrendous traffic like we have in certain areas of our county. But they get a good showing. They get about 90 to 95% of their elected officials to show. So that will be a topic. Let's put that down just for consideration as we move forward out of what's coming out of this meeting. If everybody's okay with that. And just thinking about, and as each of us move through our normal connections, ask what others are doing and what works and what can we import here to make our legislative effort a little bit, supremely effective, and develop relationships with our key stakeholders, elected officials at all levels of government. Everybody okay? All right, unless there's further ado, we may disassemble by unanimous consent. Good?
Thank you. See y'all later.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Boatright, Ms.
Thank
Frazier.
you. You're so welcome. Have a great day.